Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to draw Toon Link. One of my favorite links too. Toon Link, I loved Wind Waker, great game. So I'm going to teach you. What I try to do once again, I'm going to offer you tips and advice. I always do this with the beginning. But another huge tips when it comes to every time you do a drawing, sometimes take a step back from it or stop drawing it completely. And this is a huge tip because I just did the Piers drawing from Resident Evil and it was not looking right. And I realized I was up 8 in the morning. I only slept maybe 4 hours, 3 hours. And you know, mentally I wasn't functioning right. I mean, it came out good. But to me at the time it didn't look right. Like I just looked at it now, I'm like, hey, that looks pretty good for what it was. So that's a huge tip. Sometimes just take a break, stop what you're doing instead of keep working on it. So let's get started. If you can, leave me comments below. I'm taking requests for drawings. I've been getting a ton of requests. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start doing this drawing here. So I'm going to start with the hair. It's the hair. The hair is a big thing that makes it. It's got this flipped hair, and his eye's going to be over the hair a little. So he's got this real flipped hair. This kind of arches upward, and a little other one comes out. Almost these two little bangs, and just comes up. His hair is real roughly. And I just realized something. I have to get used to drawing on this paper. It's kind of different feel because I've been using Bristol with a certain texture, and this has its own kind of texture. It's Bristol paper, but it's a different texture, which is important to look at. Then just come in and sideburn kind of comes down. Comes like that. And another thing is, you probably notice every drawing I do, I usually make the drawings very big. I usually make them fairly big, and that's because usually bigger of a drawing, the easier it is to work with. And for the face, just come down. This made a little bit too long. This sideburn, make it a little shorter. Make it come down. And for the face, you know, it's like an anime face. It doesn't have a point at the chin. The chin just circles up and goes back. Like a chibi face, I think that's how you pronounce it. And just a little tiny thing for the ear. His ear's got a point, so make sure you do a point. And then this comes in. For some reason, I'm not liking this paper. It feels it's making thick lines. Let me change my pencil. Might have been the pencil too. Sometimes the pencils get a little bit different spring in it for the lead. And then other side, just make a sideburn come out. Kind of arch and it comes out. Then you barely see his ear because the perspective, but just sketch his ear in. Then the hood will make the hood come out, and this hood, it's got a slight point to it, you know, from the Wind Waker and the Toon Link. Link's always got a point to the end of the hat, but this one has a slight point, so just make sure it has that. And around the head, come around with the cap, and the cap kind of goes down. And the reason I'm making these lines, you're probably wondering, why are the lines looking very sketchy? Like I'm not making them fine lines, and the reason is because kind of the art style of Wind Waker, you know, with the cell shading. With this drawing, I want to capture that style of just thicker lines, things being cell shaded, cartoony-ish. So that's the first step of that. Just get the lines in. And we'll go back to the face, we'll save that. But then the garment is pretty simple. First make almost a V right here, and then bring the V up. And that's the neck. And then when you did the V, make that. That's going to be what's underneath. And basically, it's just very simply do the tonic. Is that what it's called? The tunic? I can't pronounce that for him. But just you draw that in. It's got the shoulder. But just bring that out, and it's about, his head is almost 2 total heights. So 1, 1, 2. So put a little mark where you measure on the bottom. That's his total length. But overall, this is about, say it's about this long. So just make a mark and sketch it. Same with this, make a mark and sketch it. It's about that long. And to be honest, it's a fairly simple drawing because you're dealing with basic shapes. Just get that and sketch that in. Like that. And the belt is going to be right here. About right there. And when it gets to the belt, it comes out a little on the bottom. So the belt just wraps around. So make a little line like that, and circle. And we won't put the symbol in yet. I always save, usually I save interior stuff for last, like symbols and things. But, you know, so far that's what we got going on. Then his arm comes out, and for the arm, you know, the way cloth kind of folds up, just make this little crease come up. And then come back down, his arms resting on his side. Kind of like that so far. And then for the hand, real simply, because it's a cartoon cell shaded hand, you just have the hand come out and just kind of like that in the back. Then his little finger comes up, so you know you get that. And for the other one, he'll be holding the sword. But just make sure you get the body, and then kind of erase where we made too many interior marks. Just erase that. You know, you don't want to see all that. And you can see how huge I make my drawings. This is my hand. This is the pencil. That's how big. It's a huge drawing. I can't do smaller things, but I think it's better to, I think that's another tip I'm going to offer. Get in the habit of drawing things big. You know, not huge, but, you know, big enough that it takes up a lot of paper. And the reason is, as an artist, when you start to draw things bigger and all that, you kind of start to train your mind to get used to drawing like that. So when you do more complicated stuff, you don't have a fear of you know, drawing things too big, and you kind of have the mindset that you can do it. You can draw like superheroes and things that are harder on a larger scale. And that's kind of a real helpful tip, because I remember growing up, I used to draw things very, very small. You know, so small that you couldn't really, you could tell what it was, but it was so small. But I wasn't learning anything. I wasn't improving because of that. So that's just a helpful tip. And you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just finishing drawing the hand, and the little sword case comes up, just like with the other drawing of Link I did. And with this one, he has the shield behind him. And where the belt meets the cloth, let's just put a little crease there, just so you get the idea that the cloth is draping down. And the shield. Then we'll worry about darkening the shield last. So that's so far. And then for each leg will be pretty simple. This leg comes out. And we put a mark for the bottom there. Well, the bottom's going to be about, say about right here actually. 1 foot there, and then we'll put the other there. And I usually like to mark where the feet are going. I'm just going to stop real quick and see that's what we've got so far here.